Hey guys, welcome back to the Game Precast. This is episode 4. We are going to be covering NextGen and NextGen only in this video. So let's get right into it. We're not going to be talking about what games we've been playing recently because that's pretty much the entire video. So we're going to skip that portion of the video that we usually do. That will be back in next week's episode, but let's get into it. So how did your process go with getting your NextGen consoles? Any horror
Well,
stories?
well, you and I had the exact same story for the PS5, just lurking online.
Yes.
As soon as they started coming out everywhere, and then we rushed to GameStop, and then they were out by 7:30 at night. Rushed to Best Buy, they were closed,
Closed.
and then it was just a mad dash to get home, and then just start lurking on the websites after. Remember, we were sitting in the Best Buy parking lot looking for stores that had it, and a cop was watching us because they thought we were doing some
Yeah, drug
scummy
deal.
stuff, but no, we were just trying to find the next gen consoles, man. But no, we got that link for the Amazon one. Luckily, you just
Yeah.
found it, and I still thank you 1,000 times for that, because without that, I would not have a PS5. Um, for the Series X, it was pretty easy to get, honestly. I mean, a lot of people said getting the Series X was harder, but I disagree. I was able to get 3 of those, and no, I did not scalp and resell them. I sold them to friends at cost. I didn't make a penny off of them, but I was able to secure my friends some next-gen consoles, but I did not scalp them.
Yeah, I
But
ended up
yeah,
with
that was
two Xboxes. Um, I almost actually gave it one to Mr. Matty Plays. He was gonna buy it off me because he didn't
hmm.
have one, and then he got one last second. But
Oh wow.
yeah, um, so yeah, I ended up canceling my other one. I wasn't even gonna attempt to sell it on eBay because I don't know. I would have been tempted to sell for more. I know. I would have tried. Oh, they're all selling for $600. Why not? And then I would have felt like an asshole. So I just canceled it.
Yeah.
Made my life easier. Um,
Oh, that's good on you.
yeah, and then my trade-in process at GameStop. We'll talk about that
Oh
for a
yeah.
little bit. So I
Yeah,
go
sure.
with my Xbox One X. I go to GameStop. It's supposed to be $175, right?
hmm.
Yeah, that's a fair offer, right? So I go in there, giving it. The Xbox One X is in great condition because it's not that old of a console. I mean, it's what, 4 years old maybe. And I didn't get mine
Yeah.
right when it came out, so mine was like only 2 or 3 years old. And I trade it in. Everything's going good. He's inspecting it. And the dude's like, yeah, you gotta take $60 off for refurbishing fee. I'm like, oh, what for? And he says the controller. It's a little dirty. Now here's let's see if we get this game camera. This is the new Xbox, so obviously great condition right now. And my camera's not really that clear, so you wouldn't be able to see it anyway. But in like the cracks here, there was a little bit of like dirtiness to it. So we want to charge $60 to refurbish that. And I said, no, I'm not gonna do that. So I ended up going across the street to Best Buy. Took $25 less because at Best Buy they're only giving $150 for it. But at Best Buy they didn't even check the controller. Like they didn't even test to see if the controller was working at Best Buy. They're just like, yeah,
They don't
it
care.
powers on. Okay, that's good enough for me. But meanwhile at GameStop they're doing like a fucking interrogation. They got like, the black light out, checking for like fingerprints and shit.
Oh,
And
always.
yeah, that was my process. And then my PS4 I also traded in at Best Buy because they were both doing 175.
Yeah, I
Um,
didn't trade in my last gen consoles. I can't.
Yeah,
Can't
I
do
mean,
it.
that's how I feel about my 360, and my 360 is still underneath my desk on the little shelf,
I
but I haven't
I
used my
still have,
360 since that generation ended.
I have my 360 from 2010, 2011 still.
Yeah.
Still works, still in great condition. No, I take care of my stuff. I had a 1X die on me, but
Yeah.
that wasn't that wasn't my fault. That was Destiny 2 and RDR2's fault, not mine.
Yeah, I don't
Burned
know.
out the CPU.
Um, so on that note, you want to get into the games?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so what do you want to start with?
Whichever you want to start with.
All right, well,
I
let's
got opinions on
just
all of them.
mention probably the shortest topic, Astrobot, which was given for free with every PS5. I know you didn't play it yet, right?
No, not
Okay,
yet.
so I'll just talk briefly on it. So, it's a platformer, and you go around like you're basically like on the inside of a PlayStation. That's what the game is, and you're going to
Hmm,
like different components. Like you'll go into like the CPU, the cooling area, and they're different just like regions.
that's pretty
Um,
neat.
I mean, there's a lot of like Easter eggs in it for like hardcore Sony fans. Um, so a lot of like not Sony exclusives. Yeah, well there are Sony exclusives, but games like Capcom games and stuff like that are featured in it as well. They have a lot of their partners who they've worked closely with, and they'll have little Easter eggs in the game as well. So you'll see
Any
like the
Resident
little
Evil
Astrobot
references?
characters as like Kratos, for example, or there was like a Leon and Claire reference in there. So from pretty much any game you could think of, from like the PS3 or PS4, PS2, PS1, it's in that game. Um, and I mean, yeah, the coolest part about it is showing off how your DualSense works. I mean, it's probably the best showcase. If anyone gets the PS5 and you want to see what your DualSense can really offer, that's the game to go check it out. Because as we'll talk later, some of the games do use the DualSense. Obviously, they show it off, but this game shows off legit every single thing you can do with it. So, for example, you'll be walking on sand, and it will feel different from when you're walking on tile. And I thought when I heard reviews mentioning that, I was like, no, it's not going to be that crazy. It is actually like really fucking cool. So you'll be like walking on, as I said, tile, wood, everything feels different. Just the vibrations, it makes it feel a little bit different. The
That's
triggers
impressive.
with the adaptive triggers. So,
Yeah.
for example, there's like a part in the game where there's like a spring, and when you're pressing down on the trigger, it feels like you're actually pressing down like on a spring. Like you feel the tension in it, and it's just really cool. And then there's a part like when you're in a rocket ship, and to turn on the rocket ship, you have to hold both down, and it gives like a lot of resistance on it when you're trying to start the rocket ship. There's like a part where you're using like a claw machine, and like to put the crane down, like to control the arm, there's a lot of resistance on the triggers. So yeah, just stuff like that. They really show off how the DualSense can work, and I think if you have the PS5, it was given to you for free. It's going to take you 2 to 3 hours to complete. I think it's worth checking out.
It sounds like it. I mean, I don't know. There's just so many games out right
Yeah, I
now
know.
that I don't really see time.
I mean,
for
the only reason I
putting
played it
action on.
because my Spiderman was installing at the time, and I was like, I want to try it
Gotcha.
out. So I started it, and then maybe like an hour into my playthrough, Spider-Man was finished, and instead of going to Spider-Man, I finished the game. So,
The first thing I played on my PS5, which I guess is what we'll talk about now, is Demon Souls.
yes, take it
My,
away.
hoo, hoo, hoo. If you have a PS5 and you don't have Demon Souls, let me tell you right now, go buy it right now. I don't care if you're afraid of it. I don't care if it looks like a daunting task. I don't care. You go and you play this game because it is phenomenal. This is Blue Point's best effort yet. And I played the Shadow of the Colossus remake on PS4 and that was phenomenal, but this is truly something special. I really think Miyazaki would have given his blessing on it. He probably did, to be honest, behind closed doors, but it is so faithful to the original. There are a few things that are different, some item placements, some boss designs, there's some slight changes, but it's still Demon Souls at the end of the day, and it is photorealistic. I was blown away by the visuals. It is just it strives for a higher level of detail than From Software usually goes for in their titles, and that's not a diss to From Software. They just have specific ways of designing a game, but this is just going for the full, how much can we push the PS5 to make this game look as real as possible, and they achieve it. It's just it is groundbreakingly beautiful. I have never played a Souls game or a Souls like that has looked this good, has felt this good, and a lot of that is due to the haptic feedback too. Um, like I said, in the opening of the game, when you first arrive at the Boletarian Palace, there's a red dragon with a mouthful of corpses that comes down and lands on a cobblestone bridge. Now it lands on the side railing of this bridge, and because of that, some of the cobblestone bricks fall off and hit the ground, the stone pavement in front of you. And I could feel on the controller every individual piece of brick hitting into the ground in different parts of the controller. And that was my first experience with haptic feedback, and that was insane. I mean, parries feel so much better, and they're actually easier to pull off with the haptic feedback because you have the not just the timing memorization in your head from seeing the parry, but you also have the feeling memorization now. It plays into your muscle memory, and it helps with parries a lot, to be honest. I mean, the controller is really something spectacular, and Demon Souls definitely takes full advantage of it. And if you're a newcomer, they have a bunch of guides out. Personally, I haven't looked at that at all. I still have the game memorized in my brain. I don't need any of that, but it's definitely useful. What'd you say? There's like 180 tips and tricks that they have in there for Demon Souls or something
Yeah, they have like
astronomical
the
like that?
tiles thing on the PS5.
Yeah.
So when you press like the menu button, they have a ton of tips and tricks there to help you through the game if you need help. And
Yeah.
I imagine if you're
Demon
new to the
Souls.
game, like myself, you're gonna need help. But if you're a veteran
Yeah.
and have played Soulsborns, you probably just want to go without the tips. But you have the option.
Demon Souls is definitely harder in the beginning. In the early to mid game, it's probably harder than any Dark Souls game because of certain
Good.
mechanics like the
Great.
map. It
Based off
is
my
great,
experience
man.
with Dark Souls 3,
I mean, if you die, you lose half your health until you regain your human form, but and that could be very off-putting to a lot of new players, but I'm glad they didn't change it. If you guys are diehard fans and you want to see if they made it like any more casual for the modern day, they didn't. It's exactly the
wait,
same
wait,
as
wait,
it
hang
ever
on, hang
was.
on. So when you die, the game gets harder?
Yes. Most Dark Souls games work in that way, but Demon Souls takes it to an extreme degree. You lose half your health, but at that same time, you can't be invaded, so there is a bonus to that, but you also can't have a co-op partner. So you have to, weigh the pros and cons there. I mean, Demon Souls is pretty unforgiving in the early game. I mean, that's the way it needs to be, though. That's the way it was back on PS3, and that difficulty is largely unchanged. In my opinion, some boss fights are even harder than they were in the beginning. Vanguard Demon, the boss you're supposed to die to in the beginning, he has a mouth on his back now, so you can't run circles around him anymore, which I don't know how I feel about that because it was always like a community challenge to kill Vanguard Demon, but you still can for sure. I'm not saying that you can't, but it's just more difficult to now, and I don't see why they changed it when he was already super difficult in the original. And an armored spider is I correct me if I'm wrong about this in the comments if anybody's played this game, but I swear they shoot more webs to stun you now. I swear it just spams way more attacks at you. Maybe my memory of fighting armored spider in the original is different, but than what it actually is. There are some aspects that feel more difficult, but there's also other aspects that feel easier, mainly because of 60 FPS.
Yeah.
Resolution's nice. I have it on dynamic 4K, but to be able to have a locked 60 is incredible for a Souls game, and it needs to be locked because last night I was just playing Fallen Order on my Series X and that runs at 60, but it isn't locked and it drops a lot and it's kind of unplayable at points, so I uninstalled it. But you do not have that problem with Demon Souls at all. It's fully optimized, it runs splendidly and smoothly. I mean, this is one of my favorite Souls games ever made. I mean, and I've only gotten to the second part of Stonefane, which is the second Archstone, and I haven't had much time to play more of it because I've been trying to fit other games that have just come out, but it is incredible. I haven't played a game of this quality in quite some time, and so far it is my game of the year. If Cyberpunk gets delayed into 2021, it will be my game of the year.
Probably will be.
But I think so too. Unfortunately, it's gonna make me cry, but at least now I have time for 10 playthroughs of Demon Souls
Look at
until
that.
Cyberpunk comes out. But I am blown away by what Bluepoint did here. They have the utmost respect for the original. Now we have PvP finally back in full force in Demon Souls. You could still find people on PS3, but it was very, very hard to do. And just A plus from Bluepoint. I'm going to be reviewing it on the gamepreview.com. I'm currently working on my Cold War review though, so it's going to be a little bit, but I can already tell you guys it's going to be a 10 out of 10. Bona fide masterpiece. And Frank, man, you got to get into it.
I
You
mean, I
got
am,
to.
eventually. Just,
Sooner rather than later.
I mean, I'm hoping that before Christmas. I mean, that's because I gotta beat Valhalla. I gotta
Sure.
beat Cold War and Miles Morales. But Miles Morales and Cold War are both really short games. I mean,
Yes,
I'll
Cold War's
probably
like
beat
only
Cold War
4.5
today,
hours.
or I'll because I'm already halfway through Miles Morales. I checked how many missions are in it, and I'm already at the halfway point in that. And I've only played it on launch day, and then that's been it pretty much. So, I believe that I should be done with both Miles and Cold War by sometime this week. And then I just gotta focus on Valhalla. And then when I'm done with Valhalla, I mean, there's nothing else coming out in November that I can think of, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't think so. I think we already have everything.
yeah, so I'll have some time to focus on Demon Souls. I don't know if I'll beat it. I probably won't beat it. And then I'll probably take a little bit of a break because some stuff's coming out early December. I know Fallout 76 has a new DLC coming out that I'm interested in.
You're gonna play Fallout 76 over Demon Souls? What did I just hear?
Dude, it's
Oh
gotten
my
better.
god.
It's gotten better.
Oh, that's disgusting. Even so, that's disgusting.
But
What
I'll
to
check
each
that new
his their own.
DLC out. Don't Nod has a new game coming out called Twin Mirror, which I'm interested in, and Immortals: Phoenix Rising is coming out as well.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna get that game
You're
because I
gonna
think
pass?
I think I'm still gonna be playing Valhalla by then.
Yeah, that's
So
my problem with it too, and it's like from the Assassin's Creed guys, so it's gonna be a similar kind of game.
yeah, it's
Obviously,
like
art
Breath of the
style is gonna be
Wild and
different, but it's still gonna be an Assassin's Creed game. It's gonna feel like it at least.
yeah, it's Breath of the Wild and like AC Odyssey mixed together
Yeah.
almost, but with like a cartoonish vibe. I don't know. It could be fun if it's on Game Pass. I'll play it, but I doubt it'll come to Game Pass. So I think
Unless
it'll be
there's
a
some sort of
mystery.
deal going on with Ubisoft. I mean, I'm gonna play it
Yeah,
through UPlay Plus. I'll pay the $15 and play it. I don't know if I'll do it at launch. I'll have to see how busy I'm looking. But
I'll buy it at 30 if it ever drops to that level before it goes to Game Pass or something.
well,
But
dude, I mean, Watch Dogs Legion. It's gonna be $30 on Black Friday, and that game's
as it should,
not
because
even a
it's
month
booty.
old. I think
But
Valhalla is gonna be like $40 on Black Friday. So I mean, all these games are getting pretty big discounts pretty fast. So I don't think it'll be that long before Mortals goes on sale.
yeah, hopefully. I mean, that's what I'm gonna be waiting for. I mean, Ubisoft just has, a lack of creativity and ingenuity recently, and they just refuse to innovate. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm not giving them any more money until Far Cry 6. So
So what are your thoughts on Valhalla?
Valhalla is. I actually posted on Twitter about it. I think it might be the best iteration of this new age Assassin's Creed so far,
I
from what
agree.
I've
So
played.
what I've seen so far, I agree.
But I'm tired of it, man. I want to go back to old AC. Unity was like the last great one I played, and I know a lot of people hate on Unity, but besides the technical aspects, what was really wrong with that game? Besides
There's
the
nothing
glitches?
wrong with it besides the technical issues. I mean, I didn't have that many issues with it. I know a lot of people though had a lot of game breaking bugs that just ruined it, and then it also screwed over Syndicate by them doing that. Because Syndicate
Yeah,
wasn't
and
a terrible
Syndicate was
game,
good too.
but it got
No,
so
I
much
like.
hate, including me. I didn't play Syndicate because of Unity, just because even though Unity wasn't terrible for me, I didn't have as much issues as other people did. It was still bad enough and a step in the wrong direction that I had no interest in Syndicate. So I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
want to
really
play it
like.
eventually, but
I mean, Syndicate's good. I definitely think it's better than Valhalla, to be honest, in terms of narrative, because that's what really suffers with these big open world Ubisoft titles. Is there's so much BS content just to pad the map and fill like your game time, but there is no real like sense of urgency in the narrative. Like I remember in Unity, you had to figure out who the traitor was, to
yeah,
progress in the story, and it was such an intriguing plot line because it turns out it was your mentor, Belek, and then, in my opinion, that leads to the best boss fight of the Assassin's Creed series with him, and you just don't have that narrative quality anymore. You don't have that the linearity in a way helped the story, be more just quality in a sense. Because if you have objectives over here and over there, and you just have to explore this whole
it
map,
gets spread
you're
out way
gonna.
too much.
Yeah, it's just there's not really as much cohesion as there was with the old games. And again, you're supposed to be an assassin. You're supposed to be stealthy. These new games encourage you. They're like a historical fiction. They're a historical fiction Dark Souls light is what I view them as now, because they try and emulate Souls combat, but it's way too inconsistent and way too clunky to ever come near the quality of Soulsborne. Um, you have the same basic abilities that you had in Odyssey. It's just now they have a way larger skill tree, which again is just padded out with like stat increases to make it
Yeah, I
look
saw
bigger
that.
than it actually is. Which is lazy game design in my opinion, but I would prefer that to like the constant gear you were flooded with in Odyssey and Origins, and they
Yeah, I
did
mean
fix
that's
that.
one thing I'll note. The fact that my inventory isn't clogged with gear, and I have to go
Yeah.
upgrade after I kill one person is a very
I
nice touch. I mean,
No, I like that a lot too. It's just it feels hollow overall. Like it does there is definite passion behind this game. You can tell the people who made it really like the source material of the time
yeah,
and just the overall Norse mythology lore and all that sort of stuff. But I don't know. This isn't Assassin's Creed anymore. Like I said, it's
yeah.
probably
No,
the
they
best
haven't been.
iteration.
I mean, at least there's more of a like. There's the two assassins in the game. I don't know if more come in the
Yeah,
game. I'm not that far in. I'm only towards like the intro area.
Basim and Hytham, I think their names are.
Yes,
But and they're interesting characters,
Yeah,
but again, it's just like the assassins take the backside. Like they're just in the background now.
yeah,
They don't
it's not
really
the
do much.
focus.
I mean, like Origins was cool because you saw the formation of it, but now it's the hidden ones against the Order of the Ancients, and I'm like, you think that just renaming Assassins and Templars is enough to revitalize your franchise? I don't,
Yeah.
I don't think so. Um, again, the gameplay is completely different than what it was, but again, it's not Assassin's Creed anymore. So I think they should stop with this one, and they should go back to what it was, return to form. And if they keep up with this, massive, expansive historical open worlds that, are way bigger than they need to be, I probably won't get the next one because although this game is good, I'm just tired of this formula.
Well, the reason I think they're going to continue this formula is because the games are selling incredibly well. Yeah, each game, I think they said Valhalla had double the player that Odyssey had at launch. Double. I mean, that's insane because
Really?
Odyssey still did good. I mean, I like the open world aspect of it. I like the RPG aspect of it, the choice and consequence. Like the one quest line, I don't want to go into spoilers, but you're able to make a pretty big decision. You have to accuse someone, and you can either
Oh,
just
Grant's Bridge?
yes,
Yeah.
and you can accuse someone without much information and just go based off a few short missions that you did with all of them, or you can dive deeper and really explore the world and find out through different clues and other dialogue options. So, I mean, I like that, but like you said, it's not Assassin's Creed anymore. But
Yeah, no, it's not.
the
And
identity
that,
of the games have changed, and I don't know if they'll ever go back to what they used to have because, like I said, these games are selling incredibly well, and Ubisoft just cares about money.
true. They are a profit-driven corporation. They don't care about putting passion into their products, and Watch Dogs Legion was a prime example of that. But which again, that game was abysmal. That if we make a top 10 worst games of the year list, that will be on mine for
Really.
sure. Yeah, terrible. But honestly, if I could pick one descriptor for it, it'd be piss poor. But they are dropping quality with their games. Again, Valhalla I like, but it's just I'm tired of this formula. I want them to go back. I know they won't, but
Now,
oh
what
well.
did you think of the side quests in Valhalla? Because I like how there's not like because in Odyssey they'd have like an hour-long side quest, and I wasn't a fan of that.
Yeah,
Now in
I
Valhalla, like for example, I had one where I had to go in this dude's house, and he was trying to have sex with his wife, and he couldn't get a boner.
yeah, and you had to burn
You had to burn
the
down their
house
entire
down,
house, and it
burn
just
them
took
up.
like 3 minutes. But I mean, there's quests like that similar in Odyssey where you had to do stupid shit to go help someone have like sex, and it would go
Yeah.
take you like an hour worth of time to get the same result. So I like how they've kind of just shortened them down and made them a lot simpler, but still have a little bit of story there and a side content.
I get that, but I'm of the mindset of why can't you have both? Why can't you have the small world events and then the large side quests? Because again, this whole new generation of Assassin's Creed started with taking inspiration from The Witcher 3,
Yeah,
which had like these multi-hour long side quests, and that really strengthened the game. But it works in Witcher 3 because the side quests were,
were
as we
good. They
discussed
had a
last
good narrative. In
episode,
Assassin's
yeah,
Creed, they weren't as good, and they were kind of more just filler. And it was like, go here, go do this, and it would take an
well,
hour.
some were. There were
Some
some
there
that
were
were
some good
good,
ones.
but
I'll admit that, but a
there
lot of
were a
them.
lot of filler. But I don't like how I just stumble across some person on the map, have like one conversation with them that lasts a minute, and then the other 2 minutes is me completing the quest. That's just like okay, like that
Yeah.
was quick and easy. I don't know. I like having to work for my reward. I don't like it being handed out to me like that. But I guess I don't know. It's better than nothing,
Yeah, I
I
mean, there's
suppose.
like some weird ones too. It's like there's one where there's a bunch of rats in the field. I don't know if you
Yeah,
saw,
yeah. To bring the
and you got to get the
cats.
cats. Like, what the fuck was that lady doing with the cats in her house, just locking
I
them
don't
up,
know.
chanting outside, and like the neighbor
Exactly.
didn't
Like there's
care that
no.
his neighbor. It's not like he has like a ton of neighbors by him. Just the two people living like the farm.
Yeah, there's no exposition, there's no explanation. It's just like this stuff is here, do task, get XP. That's why I prefer like the regular side quest format to this, but
Yeah,
I don't know. I definitely see where you're coming from in terms of, time conservation, but
yeah.
personally I prefer the old ways.
Okay, that is a fair point. Um,
You
what
want to talk
can?
about Cold War?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so I'll start off by saying I beat it back to back to back 3 times in a 24-hour period. and I love it. I think it's really good. Beat it on regular the first time just to play through it, and then my second playthrough was on veteran, and I did it mainly the same way, just made a few different choices now that I know the certain outcomes of things. And then my third playthrough was just commit war crimes whenever possible, violent options, and just be an absolute villain, which you can do. Um, I'll say this right now, it's not as good as Black Ops 1 and 2. It's
Okay.
not. But it is light years ahead of 3 and 4. It's better
That's
than
good.
those games in every single way. It is a return of form to the Black Ops franchise. It definitely does feel more modern, and I definitely have a lot of criticisms of it. I'm not going to say too much because before we started recording this, I was penning my review for Cold War, which will be up later today on thegamepreview.com. Little plug. Um, but I really am a fan of it. I think that they made a lot of good strides to return to what they once were. That's a return to form right there. Ubisoft can't learn, but apparently Treyarch can. Um, there are some things that are like that are pretty stupid that they put in that I don't know why they put in, but my main criticism of it, honestly, and it's just a personal one, that doesn't really have anything to do with the quality of the game. And it's very subjective, so you might not have the same opinion as me when you play through it. But the new Woods, hate him,
Yeah, I have. I don't like him.
hate him.
He's not
I
his
hate him
voice.
so much.
Like I got to a part where he was yelling at someone. I'm not gonna spoil who it was, but he was yelling at a character about he was angry at him because
I know
they were
who it
holding
is.
info, and he's yelling at it. And it doesn't even sound like he's angry. And I mean, I don't. Because I just
Here's what,
played BO1 recently. I played it right before
yeah.
that, and just thinking about how Woods yelled in that game, you heard that anger. And now this new guy. I mean,
You can't kill
yeah,
me.
like that. Like
It's
that's like,
classic.
and then you get to this new guy, and he's like, is he even angry? I mean, like, I don't know.
It's I'll tell you this, it's obvious that he's just trying to imitate James C. Burns the entire time, so why just not bring back James C.
It
Burns?
doesn't make any
Like,
sense.
it doesn't make any sense, especially because this is a direct sequel, not a reboot. I think it started out as a reboot because
Yeah,
there's a certain character that you meet that I will not spoil, but they have no business being in a Black Ops game, but I love that they're there. And it's very weird. It's very weird that they went this route,
real.
but I'm a
I mean,
fan
I
of it
think I
because
know what you're referring to. I haven't got to that point of the game, but I can see, in theory, what I think you might be heading towards.
it I'll say it connects two franchises.
All right, then yeah,
That's what
that
I'll
is what you're putting down is what I'm picking up. Okay.
Yeah, but and that was crazy. But now it's like you have this old game series that's linked with this new game series, and it's kind of weird, but
Yeah.
I'm also a fan of it. But you can tell with stuff like that, they plan to make this a reboot, but then they probably changed midway
And
through
that's probably
development
why
that
they
it's
couldn't go back to the other voice actor. They probably, if this was just going to be a sequel from the get go and they were 100% making this a sequel, they probably would have brought him back. But since they had the reboot plans originally and they signed him up for it and they already had him, that's probably why they kept him.
But let's be honest, Activision definitely has a lot of money where they could walk back on that if they
Yes,
wanted to. I mean, they
absolutely.
overpaid their CEO like no tomorrow, and they just have all this extra cash that they just have lying around. I mean, they make just absolute truckloads of money every year from the Battle Pass now in Call of Duty, and then all their mobile stuff, and just they're a constant cash cow, and they really could have went back on it if they wanted to. It's just passionless. This guy is just trying to imitate James C. Burns, like I said, but he doesn't have the just the balls, honestly, that the original Woods had. He doesn't have the passion, and I really feel bad for James C. Burns because I watch his podcast sometimes, and he really wanted to go back to it. He really, he still loves this character. He devoted a decade of his life to this character, and they bring him back for Black Ops 4 to voice like these stupid ass training missions, but they won't bring him back for a genuine sequel to the first Black Ops game. Like, I can understand why he's insulted, but I'm personally insulted myself
Yeah.
as a fan. It's like, why? What the hell, man? I It's very disappointing, especially since, and I mentioned this in the review, he's not even the same character. He makes immature, childish quips and jokes all the time, and it's just like, this isn't Woods. Like, yeah, Woods could be funny. Woods could say some, pretty hilarious shit at times, but it's just because that was him as a character. Now it's forced. It's like that cringy Marvel dialogue, and we can talk about now that the MCU is pretty much over. A lot of that dialogue was corny and cringy and trash, and it's just that's what this is now. It's just like those cute little Marvel jokes that they snuck into Star Wars now too, and it's like infecting these serious
Yeah.
franchises with just this childish humor, and I don't like it, especially with a character like Sergeant Frank Woods. How punished this man is in Black Ops 2, he would not be saying these
Yeah, I
things.
know.
And I mean, hell, he's even punished in Black Ops 1, and it's just this is not the same guy. I don't know who this is, and they kind of like mytholo they just mythologize these Mason and Woods characters like they're legends, but I'm
Yeah.
like, why would they be viewed as legends in the game? Like they're legends to us because we grew up playing 1 and 2. We've seen these guys evolve, but they're only legends in the game because the player views them as legends. And it's
Yeah.
like that's weird. You're kind of like heroicizing these characters. You're making them something that they aren't in the real world, and it's kind of like a disconnect there.
Also,
Doesn't really.
I'm like so confused at like where this is in like the time scale.
This is
Like,
before 2. This is before because two's
because I know in two
flash.
you save Woods from Vietnam, so it's all this before he gets saved in
Well,
Vietnam.
you save him in Angola. It's not in Vietnam.
Oh,
You
it's not.
save him.
It's been a while since I played BO2.
Yeah, no. Well, because Woods is actually rescued in Black Ops 1. It doesn't happen on screen though. It happens on a computer. You have to escape the chair that you're sitting in on the main menu, and then type in a few codes into the computer, and then it tells you that Woods was recovered from his fight with Kravchenko. But sometime after Cold War, he gets captured by Kravchenko when he's in Angola or back in Vietnam, one of the two, and then you have to rescue him from a shipping container in Angola. But Cold War happens before that. It takes place in 81. In Black Ops 2, I believe the past sections are in 84.
Okay.
I know for sure the Afghanistan mission is in 84, and that's Old Wounds, I believe, and that's the second past mission in the game. So yeah, it's definitely in between 1 and 2, but there's no references to 2 at all. A lot of references to 1 in Dragovich, Steiner, Kravchenko, Nova 6. That's definitely
Yeah.
mentioned in the game quite a bit. And I will say that one of those characters does show up.
Okay.
Obviously, you can tell who
Yeah,
because
I could.
2 of them are dead. But and it's pretty obvious that he was going to show up since he was in Black Ops 2. But it's cool to see him regardless.
Yeah.
And there is choice and consequence in this game. I was very surprised to see your choices do definitely affect the outcome of certain character arcs, the ending
That's
itself,
cool.
and the ending of certain missions.
And there are like side missions as well in this game that you can
There's
do,
2.
and
Yeah,
they affect the outcome of the game. I'm assuming if you do them or if you don't do them.
yeah, it's kind of like
Minor
at
things.
the end, after you beat the game, they kind of go over all the choices you made in a conversation between Hudson and his handler Black, who is a new character that we don't know who it is, but they kind of go over your choices and what you did throughout the game. Or if you pick the bad ending, it's someone else who goes over your choices, but I'm not going to say who it is.
Okay.
Regardless, there definitely is levity to your actions here. There are consequences to what you decide, and they can be very, very grave and surprising, especially if you play the bad final mission, Ashes to Ashes. Obviously it's not canon,
Yeah.
because I'll say this, Black Ops 2 would not happen, or the
A
new
lot of things
trilogy
would have
that
to
this
change.
game
Yeah.
the new trilogy this game is connected to would never happen either. But yeah, that is a crazy darkest timeline type scenario that they have you play through.
Okay.
And I'll say that the story is great. I mean, doesn't hold a candle to 1 and 2, like I said,
Yeah.
but it's better than 3 and 4 didn't have one, so it's automatically superior in every way. The gameplay is fast, it's smooth, it's fluid. The gunplay is heavy and meaty, and it's satisfying as hell. I don't like how you have to create a custom character though.
Yeah. I
I
don't
think a
either.
voice, like, it's okay and it fits into the story very well, especially with the big twist that happens. Which I will say nothing more besides that there is a big twist, but
Okay.
it's a Black Ops game,
Yeah.
so
That's
that
every
always
game.
happens. But it fits well for that. But I would have rather had a main protagonist, like the missions where you play as a Mason and he's voiced. It's definitely a lot more immersive than just playing as a voiceless main protagonist that you create. I mean, there are some cool aspects to it, like you can choose between different psychological profiles, and that gives
Yeah,
you
I saw
stat
that.
bonuses and buffs. And I like that feature, and I like how there's 18 of them, so you can really mix and match and experiment with different builds. But overall, there's not too much change. It's just like tactical help, especially if you play on the higher difficulties. It's nicer to have 25% more HP or faster fire rate,
Yeah.
less flinch damage, whatever it may be. Um,
I mean, now it
but
is cool seeing my name, like when I load into a game and it says like Frank Bell and then my last name. I mean, that is cool.
yeah, I did the
But
same thing,
then
except
again,
my
I would
back.
prefer it just to be a random guy named Bell and have him be an actual character.
It is kind of funny though, because on like my when I just did my evil playthrough, it would pop like Vladimir Bell Makarov. That was pretty funny. But
Yeah.
other than that, yeah, I would have preferred a main voice protagonist. And back to the voice actor section real quick. Mason and Woods are adequate. I mean, Mason and Hudson rather are adequate. Hudson is definitely the best out of the three because Hudson, if you guys don't know, has had a different voice actor
In
for
every
every
single
Black
game.
Ops game. Yeah, he was the best in one, and this guy is definitely better than the voice actor in two, but he's not better than whoever voiced Hudson in one. And whoever did that, I apologize, I can't remember your name. But and the guy who voices Mason is okay. He grows on you a little bit, but obviously Sam Worthington is better from the
Yeah.
original too. But overall, yeah, I really like Black Ops Cold War, and it will get a high score from me today.
And I gotta say, it's cool seeing like Ronald Reagan in the game. Like I always liked how you
Yeah.
saw like JFK and BO1.
Well, you killed JFK if you want.
Well, it's alluded that you kill him. It's not.
You definitely do. During
I've
Revelation,
read conspiracy theories on that.
when I mean in Revelations, when you're walking around as Mason, he says like John Fitzgerald, Oswald compromised. He's
Yeah,
in
but he
Dallas in
might
the
know
picture at
because
the
the
end of
theory
the
I
game.
was reading online is that Mason knows that there's a planned assassination and he's trying to go there to save him, and that's
Nah,
why he's
because
there.
Hudson says there was years where you weren't accounted between 61 to 68, and then there's some years like that in 63 where Kenny was assassinated falls in there where they couldn't account for him. He was in Dallas. He's talking about JFK and Lee Harvey Oswald when he's tripping, and when you're choking out Dragovich at the end of the game, you say to him, "You try to make me kill my own president," and he says, "Tried." So yeah,
Oh,
it's pretty obvious that he popped John Fitzgerald Kennedy,
damn.
but it's unfortunate, but it is probably the best twist of that game, to be honest, more so than the numbers revelation. But yeah, I mean, these games are fantastic, and this is a definite return to form. I'm very happy
Now,
about
did
it.
you
I'm
play the
very
multiplayer at
impressed.
all yet?
Little bit, more so in the beta.
Yeah.
If I play it, I'm gonna play hardcore because I hate the TTK. I shouldn't have to put half a mag into someone to drop them. That's ridiculous. So I will be probably playing hardcore tonight with some friends. It's just what I prefer. I like having more realistic bullet damage. Zombies I have played a match of, really fun, better than 3 and 4. Again, not as good as 1 and 2, but it's kind of back to what it was. It's definitely modernized. You get points that pop up. Not in your bottom right, but like plus 90 for killing a zombie is kind of like multiplayer. It's weird. There's hit markers now, which is
Yeah.
also weird, but I guess that's been in zombies for a while now, I guess. It at the end of the day, you know what? It is more casual, but it's fun. And that's what matters for zombies. It's
Yeah.
fun with friends. That's all you really need.
Yeah. I mean, I was playing multiplayer the other night, or not the other night, last night, and I was just getting constant lag spikes. I don't think it was anything to do with Call of Duty. Like, it was internet lag spikes, and I don't know, because right now my internet connection is fine, but it's legit like every 5 seconds in game, not 5, like probably 10 seconds, get a little lag spike. And it's nothing major, but it's still really weird, and I don't know why it's happening. I'm thinking it might be the Ethernet cord that's going into my Xbox. I think I'm gonna swap them out because it's really weird. Like here, we're not getting any lag spikes. I'm not cutting out every 10 seconds, but it was happening on
It
COD.
could be the game though, because I know a lot of people have had crashing issues and hard crashing issues with the game. I haven't run into any technical bugs at all. I've had a flawless performance.
Yeah,
So I don't know. I know a lot of people are having issues though.
yeah. And then I haven't played Zombies yet, but I'll play it soon.
We should play that together because
No, I
it's
mean, I'm
fun.
down.
It's a lot of fun.
So on that note, let's dive into Spider-Man.
Yes.
Let me-
I've only played like an hour and 45 minutes of it. I'm when you're off to see Miles's mom's rally and then the PlayStation 5 event
Yeah.
gameplay section
Yeah.
starts with the bridge. That's right where I left off. Is right at
Okay.
the beginning of that. So,
See, I mean,
but I love
gameplay,
it.
it feels really good.
Oh
Like
my god,
60 FPS feels amazing on
beautiful!
that.
It's so smooth
I
and
mean,
fluid.
the fidelity mode looks good. Don't get me wrong. The ray tracing looks cool, but there's no way I'd prefer that over 60. I mean, the 60
I'm not giving
FPS.
up 60 FPS web slinging.
Yes,
It's
it's just.
too good.
And I haven't had any FPS drops either. It's stayed solid 60 the entire time.
Block 60. Same with Demon Souls. Forgot it meant no drops at all.
That's good.
But speaking of those adaptive triggers, and just one thing before, because I know you've played more of it, you have more to say than I do. But one thing I want to point out with those adaptive triggers, feeling the web like it's straining. You can feel it on the controller as you're swinging, and then you feel it physically detach and then reattach to your next point.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, that is really cool. And I mean, I played Astrobot, and I tried to compare Spider-Man to Astrobot the best I can. Because in Astrobot, it's like constant. Like when you're just walking on like different surfaces, you feel it. You feel stuff like fly past you in Astrobot. And in this game, like when you're webbing around, you don't feel like the movement of it. And that's kind of what I wish they did with like the vibrations, make it feel it more. Which is probably hard to do. I don't know the actual technical aspect of it and how they did it with Astrobot. Because you obviously have a much bigger experience with Spider-Man, where Astrobot, it's a much more linear path that you're going on. So they're able to do things like that a lot easier than comparing it to an open world where you have like cars and stuff. But I don't know. I mean, I think because a lot of people thought like, oh, it's just gonna be not that big of a deal. A few games are gonna implement it and then they're gonna stop supporting it. I think a lot of third-party studios are going to support the features on the PS5 controller. I hope they do.
I do too.
I think Xbox is going to
really
follow suit on their Elite 3 controller. They're going to include those features in it. I mean, I wish they included it on the original Xbox controller, just because more developers and stuff would end up supporting it. Because when you're only giving it, because how many people are going to go buy the Elite 3 controller, even if it has it?
If it has it, it has me at day one. But yeah,
I mean, majority of people wouldn't have it. So then, would devs really go spend time for a feature that not everyone has? Like everyone has that feature on their PS5 controller. So that's why I kind of wish they just included it. And I guess the hope is that whenever the mid-generation Xbox comes out, that they'll include it on that controller. And I know it's like 5 years away, but whenever that comes out, hopefully they'll just include it on the base controller. So then more devs will support it on Xbox. But that's obviously a while away. I mean, gameplay feels just as good as Spider-Man on PS4. I mean, combat feels smooth.
It's faster though. For at least to me, it's faster paced because
I agree.
Miles has a lot of different abilities, and it's. I will say, it does feel like you're playing as different people from Miles Morales to Peter Parker. And
I didn't think we'd get that. I thought it would have all felt the same. But like his electric punch thing is cool.
Even the Venom punch, I love it. It's so much fun to execute combos. Like you punch someone up in the air and then slam down with the Venom fist. It just launch everyone up into the air and then grab them with your webs and spin them around and then hit all their friends with them. It's a lot of fun, and you're definitely faster as Miles than Peter. And can we talk about the new Peter Parker face? It looks so weird.
It does. Like because he's supposed to be a mentor, right? He's supposed to be the mentor, but they look exactly the same age. They look like they're competition. They both look like they're teenagers together. And it just doesn't feel weird because he's supposed to be the mentor. And obviously, it doesn't feel like he's the fucking mentor because they look exactly the same.
He looks so weird. It also looks like his face is shriveled and condensed in some parts. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like it's too finely chiseled to its downfall almost. It works against it. I like the old model. I mean, it's still Yuri Lowenthal voicing him. It's still the same character, but like he looks so weird. I don't know why they changed the face. I really don't.
I agree. I mean, they should have just kept things the same. They wanted to be different. They wanted to make it similar to Tom Holland, and that was a mistake in my opinion. But
for a 2-year-old game especially, it's like, come on.
I mean, if they wanted to change it for like Spider-Man 2, whenever that came out, like for like 5 years from now, like there's a 5-year difference. There's been some time, but the game's 2 years old, and that's such a drastic change to make, in my opinion. But as far as gameplay goes, I mean, not gameplay. As far as like the story goes, I think the narrative should be as good as the original Spider-Man. Like based off just the initial gameplay I've played so far, like the narrative feels like it's there.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, like I don't want to spoil the game for you. That's why I'm having trouble here. I don't. Did you get any scene at a dinner table yet?
At Miles's mom's apartment, yeah, for Christmas
Okay,
dinner.
you had
For
the
that,
Christmas dinner, like just like the scene like that when he's going outside and he like goes through the window and stuff, and they're like peeking through. I just feel
yeah,
like just having moments like that is cool,
it
and
is. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's more than I expected. You know, my initial thoughts when they announced this, I didn't think it was gonna be that good of a game. I thought they were just gonna kind
I
of feed
thought it
off
was
the
gonna be
hype.
great.
No, well, I thought it was gonna be more of like a DLC, kind of like how the three other
Like
DLCs were for Spider-Man. I thought it'd be
like
something more
Uncharted
similar to
Lost
that,
Legacy.
and it's much more developed. Like even New York feels different, and I know it's weird to say, but they have like the hip hop music on with Miles now,
Yeah.
and just exploring the city with him feels like it's a new city. And part of that's because they put it at Christmas time instead of during, I think, spring or whenever it was. So it gives
Yeah.
like a different vibe to the city.
I'll
Um,
say this. I mean, when Miles Morales was announced, I just got done watching Into the Spider-Verse for the first time, and
yes,
I love that
I
movie
did too.
so much. It's phenomenal. It's probably one of the best animated movies I've ever seen. But yeah, that game, I didn't really know much about Miles. Like, I knew he existed. I knew he was like the new age kid Spider-Man, but besides that, I really didn't know much about him beside him being Pete's protege. But watching that movie and then now seeing him in the 2018 Spider-Man and now he's his own Spider-Man, definitely still has a lot to learn, but he is a very compelling character. I like him a lot, and I had faith in this game, and so far it's paying off, and Insomniac's just continuing to show their prowess in this genre. And who would have thought from the guys who made Ratchet and Clank, you know?
Yeah, that's crazy. And speaking of Ratchet and
That's
Clank, that game's coming out in a few months probably.
is it?
Yeah, I mean they
Do they
said
have a
it's
release
quarter
date?
one. That was the initial what they're saying. They kind of reaffirmed that again. I'm expecting at the Game Awards we're gonna get an announcement for it with the release date. I mean,
Hopefully we get a Resident Evil Village release date too.
we should. I mean, there should be a lot of stuff at this Game Awards because the fact that there wasn't really a real E3 this year, I feel like a lot of stuff didn't want to do with that, and they wanted to be at a big event. So I feel like a lot of people pushed back to go to the Game Awards if they didn't really have their own show planned during the summer. So I feel like
Yeah.
we should get a lot of stuff here at this show, like Elden Ring. I mean, that's the
Oh
dream.
yeah, we're definitely seeing Elden Ring gameplay at the Game Awards
I
because
hope.
they've been teasing this game for such a long time, and I know it's not gonna be like Soulsborne at all. I know they're trying to escape the constrictions of that genre that they created, but I don't care as long as it's a Miyazaki project. I'm 100% in, so I'm really excited to see. And I'm not a big fan of Game of Thrones. I actually think, well, at least in terms of the show, I think it's very poorly written at times. But I stopped watching midway through into the third season. However, I respect the recognition that George R. R. Martin has, and I hope Miyazaki can kind of rein him in a bit with, the incest stuff and all that weird shit. I'm not a fan of it. I don't like it. Keep it out. It was like in every other episode of Game of Thrones. Anyway, I don't
Anyway,
want
so
any of
wait,
that
you thought the
nonsense.
writing was bad in the third season?
Well, yeah, because Rob Stark is a moron and does literally every wrong thing he could possibly do.
Well,
At
that was
all
his character though. He had to do all that.
But it,
That's how
it
he was written
doesn't
in the
but it
books.
doesn't make sense. But
No,
it
but
doesn't make
if
sense.
he did everything right, he was winning the war, and he was going to go right to King's
Yeah, a
Landing.
war he shouldn't be winning, by the way. A war that he is outclassed on in terms of military power, monetary backing. He should not be winning it. And then all of a sudden, he drops it all for a woman. He starts losing focus, and then he just keeps all of his prisoners, which I'm sorry, your enemy wouldn't do that to you. And yeah, you want to have some prisoners, but you don't take everybody who surrenders. I mean, look, this is medieval times. This is another world. Things need to be done. If you want to win the continent, there's certain lines you're going to have to cross, Robert Stark. And the fact that you would sooner kill one of your liege lords than a Lannister makes no sense. It makes no sense. Like, this guy kills members of a family that has been terrorizing your people and the multiple kingdoms within your realm.
Well, no, the reason
And
he didn't kill the
and then
Lannister.
he, and then he freaks out because he disobeyed his orders. But in reality, that liege lord kept all of the other men in line because they were growing discontent with Robb Stark's leadership. And in response, he beheads that guy.
Yeah, but no.
And
All
then
right,
after that, I stopped watching the
all right.
show because I was
But
like,
now
I'm done.
here's my take on it. If he killed the Lannister kids, right? If he goes and kills
Yeah.
them, then what happens to his sisters who are in King's Landing? They more than likely both get killed.
Who cares? Well, Arya's gone because
Well, he
she
doesn't
had the
know that.
sense to leave.
But he doesn't know
And
that.
then who?
He thinks both
And then
Arya and Sansa are at King's Landing as hostages.
true, and Sans is a traitor. I hate her. She is the worst. She
Why?
watched her father die and stood by Joffrey's side. She's terrible. There's no redeeming her. I hope she gets the blade like soon. I might go back and watch the show just to see her croak because she is a goddamn traitor. And I'm sorry, Ned Stark was the only character on that show with a single shred of honor. The only good
Well,
person,
and that's
and
why
they
he
kill
died.
him.
That's why he died, because he had honor.
I only like Peter Dinklage's character.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it at this point. I mean, Jon Snow is okay, but it's just I don't know. I I don't know, man. It's just so and then again with all the, sexual stuff
Yeah,
that's
there's a
not
lot of.
it like man, I like
But
a
there's
good
also a lot of
pair of
sexual stuff in The
boobs.
Sopranos. I
Like
mean,
yeah, but hold on. I like a good pair of boobs as much as the next guy, but I don't want to see it in every single frame of like every other episode because at a certain point it just becomes egregious. Like enough is enough. Like we get it, people bang. Okay. Like I don't need to see it all the time. And don't compare it to The Sopranos because there is not nearly as much sexual content in that show as
yeah,
there is in
but there is a
Thrones.
lot still in The Sopranos. There's a fucking prostitute getting banged pretty much every other episode.
Maybe, but I wouldn't say every other episode. Maybe every three. But I'm on the
The
final season right now, and that stuff is gone. It is all about just Tony and
how
his
many
mindset. But
episodes
and
of The Sopranos have
good thing we
nudity
have
or
timestamps
sex?
because I know a lot of people are not going to care about this stuff. But this is something I'm passionate about because a lot of people are like, "Oh, Game of Thrones is better than Tolkien," and it's not. It will never be better than Tolkien. It won't even be better than Sapkowski. It's just look, I imagine the books are better than the show, and I'll admit my own ignorance on that because I've never read the books and I never will read the books because of how much I just dislike the show. And I get it's part of Rob Stark's character, but logically, it's just common sense the things that he does wrong that anyone would know. Hey, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't turn your entire just all of your allies against you. You shouldn't lose focus of a war when you're trying to one avenge your father's death and two secure your sovereignty as a kingdom and retain your independence. So you put all that aside to get married, and then you proactively work against yourself by pissing off everyone who serves under you. Like again, I guess it's his character, but it just makes no sense because, just using logic and reason at the most basic of levels, like any other human being to have ever existed throughout just the entire existence of Earth, you would be able to tell, hey, these are bad ideas. I shouldn't do this. It's like if Alexander went to all of his generals and say, hey, I know we just, passed over Persia and we're going into India now, but I want to start taking prisoners. I want to just capture everyone and I don't want to listen to you guys at all. You're just in the backdrop and if you disobey me, I'm going to kill you even if you make the right choice over mine. No, we wouldn't be hearing about Alexander the Great, and that's why Rob Stark is a monumental moron and I don't like Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I mean, he makes a lot of bad decisions at the end. But then again, that's how his character is written in the books, and they have to.
It just
But I mean,
doesn't
the
make
writers for Game of Thrones, like the TV show, were terrible. That's why
sense.
the last two seasons are horrendous. I mean, if you thought that was bad, then just wait till you see the last two seasons if you did decide to finish the show. Because the
Yeah.
last two seasons are just so off the walls. It's just everything is a.
And like you could say it's his character, but in the first season he's pretty responsible. And then the second one he just in the first part of the second one, like the first half, or honestly the first three fourths, he's still responsible, he's still kicking ass, and it turns out of
Yeah.
nowhere. And it's just unprecedented. And the reason that it's bad is because I'm not in George R. R. Martin's head, so I don't know how he thinks. But it seems to me like he wanted that plot point to happen with Robb Stark to die. And again, I haven't seen his death. It's just I know it's gonna happen because it's so damn obvious. Like He wanted Robb Stark to die, so he needed to make it happen because he had that plot point already figured out before he wrote up to it. So he specifically wrote Robb Stark's character to make that happen, and that's not how you write characters. You write the character and you give them traits, and then the story unfolds organically around them because they're supposed, the story comes from the characters acting how they would in real life. You give them the traits and then they just do, and eventually the story will just write itself. But it was very clear that he wanted Robb Stark to get to that point and then just kill him. So he wrote up to that point, and that's just not how you're supposed to do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that
It's
note,
like the entirety of The Last Jedi. It was just certain plot points Ryan Johnson wanted to hit, so he just wrote complete bullshit to lead up to it. Same with Rise of Skywalker, but that's a different discussion for another time because we'll be here for hours if I get into the sequel trilogy right now.
yeah. So on that note, any other notes about the future of next gen? Because we went very off topic there for the last like 20 minutes.
Just a few cliff notes. One, like you said, I hope haptic feedback becomes a mainstay feature. I really like it. Same with the adaptive triggers. I really think the DualSense controller is by far the best controller I've ever used for a PlayStation console, quite
Yes.
possibly for any console ever. If the thumbsticks were diagonal, it would be the
Yep.
best console I've ever
I was
used.
about to say that. It's just
That's the
thumbsticks for
only
me.
thing.
I can't.
But they are further apart than the PS4 controller,
like
which
that.
is
I needed that.
because I have big hands, and I would again prefer them to be diagonal. And if they come out with a version like that with the haptic feedback, that's the best controller ever made right there. But
Yes.
I did notice that the touchpad took a back seat, so I don't even know why it's still there. To be honest, I don't
Yeah, I
really use it.
agree. And it feels
But
like the. It just feels like cheaper than everything else in the controller. I feel like when you press it, it doesn't feel as like premium
yeah,
as everything else.
it was just like, oh, I guess we needed to include it because PS4 games use it, and we have backwards compatibility, so we might as well just put it in.
Yeah.
But like for Demon Souls, it only has like one function, and it's just to view like your quick emoticon bar or whatever, and I don't know. It's just kind of meh. I don't know why it's there. Xbox controller, basically the same thing as the one, but it just has another button for sharing clips and videos, which is kind of pointless. But I mean, I guess it's just
Well,
like
if you
it
want to know
saves you
about a
two.
pointless feature on a controller, the PS5 has like this thing you blow into for different games, and
Does
yeah, like the mic, you can blow into it. Like on Astrobot, you had to like blow one of those things that go in the wind. I forget what they're called. They're
I
little
don't know. I
like
haven't played.
plastic things that are in the wind. They go in your ground outside, and they spin. Oh, what's the name?
Oh, I know what you're
They're like
talking
they have
about.
different colors sometimes, and they just like, sit in your
Yeah.
lawn. One of those, and you have to blow it. And I'm blowing as hard as I can into this controller, and I can't figure out why it's not working. And then I made the realization that it was because I had headphones plugged in. And because I had headphones plugged in, it was realizing it turned off the mic on the controller, and it turned on the mic on my headset. And my mic is detachable, so I didn't have it plugged in. So once I plugged it in, I was able to blow into the mic on here, and
I'm
it
just
still
noticing we have
picked up
the
the
same
blowing.
headset.
Do we?
I think. HyperX Cloud Alpha.
I don't know if it's the alpha. It's something, but it's definitely HyperX.
No, I think we do. But yeah, no, I haven't used any. Demon Souls definitely has no like blowing into the controller feature. Thank God. But
Because it was like, what am I
that-
gonna do? I thought I would have to unplug my whole headset and then blow into the controller for it to work. And then I tried the attachable one. I was surprised it worked because I wouldn't think blowing into it would actually make wind in game. I guess it's kind of cool, but it's such a niche thing.
yeah,
That
I mean, what's really gonna utilize that? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
how often do you need to blow wind yourself? I mean,
exactly.
maybe God of War might implement it somehow
Yeah,
because I don't know how, but I feel like that would be the one mainstream game to put it in somewhere. I don't know why, but that just popped into my head. It just makes sense. I don't have any explanation. It just like seems like it would fit in some way. But I don't know. It would imagine like they remastered God of War 4 and when Atreus pushes Magni off of the cliff, you just blow into the controller to knock him. That'd be fantastic. But or no, Modi. I'm sorry, because Magni dies first. Regardless, yeah, that seems pretty useless. But overall, I love the new consoles. I think the Series X definitely gets way hotter than the PS5, but I also think that's because it has higher graphical fidelity and just more power behind it.
yeah, dude.
Um,
Now for me, I mean, my Series X is up on my dresser, so I'm able to
mine's
feel it.
right
My
behind.
PS5 is on my shelf, so I can't really feel the back of it. But my Xbox hasn't really felt that hot. I mean, it's felt definitely cooler compared to last gen.
if you play for like hours on end, like say, because I was playing, like I said, COD back to back to
Well, no,
back
dude,
many
I played
times.
COD for like 8 hours yesterday, and I mean, I felt it, and it wasn't as hot as my One X felt like after like an hour.
Oh yeah, it's definitely
It's
cooler than
definitely
the One
cooler,
X.
which is a
It
nice step.
still runs hot.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that it has a lot of ventilation because of that. And anyone out there, if you have your PS5 or your Series X in a cabinet, like I have my older consoles, back there ish. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Um, if you have it in a place like that, take it out because it's gonna overheat and you're gonna kill your console. I'm telling you, these things need to breathe. They need open space. That's why I just have them out in the open like that. Um, they need space to breathe, and if you don't give it to them, they're gonna combust. I mean, not literally, but they will, suffocate on you.
Yeah.
So you gotta be careful with it, and just people take good care of these things if you have them, because if you get either, you're extremely fortunate. If you get both, like me and Frank here, very lucky, and we acknowledge that. And that's you just gotta take good care of them because you are not gonna be able to get another one probably until next
A
year if you
while.
mess it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. But overall, I love next gen, and this is looking to be my favorite generation of gaming so far.
Yeah,
And
I
I
mean,
can't
dude,
wait to see how
because
Cyberpunk runs on my Series X.
yeah, I mean, Demon Souls, it looks just from a graphical perspective, even on the
Gorgeous.
performance mode, it looks gorgeous. And usually,
Rob, that's
launch
gorgeous.
titles usually don't look that good. So I mean, I'm really curious about like 2 to 3 years from now how good the graphics are gonna look, because that's usually when you really start seeing the next gen looking games come out.
And we have the RTX 4090.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, stuff is gonna look phenomenal in the coming years. I'm excited to see what Ragnarok is gonna look like. I think that's gonna be a true testament to the PS5's power. Again, we're not seeing that game next year. I don't care what anyone says. That's a
2022.
2022 game. Yeah.
It's
I
gotta
mean,
be.
they can say 2021 all they want, but I don't. No, not 3 years.
Oh,
It's
I actually
definitely
have one more thing I want to mention. So the backwards
What's that?
compatibility on both consoles.
Yes. Oh, we haven't even
Xbox
talked
has
about
definitely
that.
been much
They're,
better
they're leading in that, yeah.
because, like, even something like, let's say, PS5, right?
Yeah.
Backwards compatibility on that, I didn't expect it to be that great, but like, there's things that should be enhanced that weren't enhanced, like Bloodborne, for example. We can dive into that for another day. I personally think they're saving it because they want to do a remaster and they want to make some money. I think
hope
they have
so.
and they want to get money for it. That's my opinion. But something like Final Fantasy VII Remake, that game should have easily gotten like a 60 FPS patch. And I just,
For sure.
none of these games are just unlock the FPS. It's not that hard to do. I'm not asking for graphical improvements. I just want to get 60 FPS. That's it. And these consoles can run 60 FPS because if it was able to run 30 FPS on the old gen stuff from 2013, 2014, it can easily run it at 60 at the same resolution or even maybe a better resolution on here, and that's
Sekiro
minimum work they have to put in.
Yeah, Sekiro runs 60 at Series X with no patch. It's
Yeah, but it's not like a solid 60. It
yeah,
drops.
same with Fallen Order, like I was talking about earlier. But it's better than.
But at least they have the option, and it's without a patch. And I mean, if they had a patch, they'd be solid 60 locked if they were optimized. I just want the option to go play these games at unlocked FPS and just see what the system can do. And I don't know why Sony didn't allow that or push developers to do that.
I don't. Yeah, there's no excuse that Bloodborne should have a 30 FPS lock. It's
I mean, dude, a modder, I was able to get it on the PS4 Pro to run at 60 FPS. And now it was at a lower resolution, of course, but that was with the technology from a few years ago. This technology can easily run it at that 1080p, 60 FPS, and I think it could probably do more. But it's just the point that they could easily, given these enhancements, and I don't want to say easily for Bloodborne because I know there were some weird things with it, but if you're telling me this modder, who's obviously doing this on his own time, was able to figure out a few developers from Sony or from Software or wherever could get the work done on this and make it work.
Well, Lance is a talented dude, and he's done a lot of like breaking boundaries in Bloodborne, accessing hidden content in the alpha, accessing hidden areas and chalice dungeons and whatnot. But the 60 FPS patch was definitely his greatest work so far. And again, yeah, like you said, if he can do it, Sony has no excuse. They're a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Bloodborne.
I mean, pay him to fucking do it.
Yeah,
pay this man, have him go in, give him 2 other guys to work with, and have them make a little dream squad and go fucking finish this. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It's one of the highest selling, games of the PS4 generation. It's regarded as the best Soulsborne game ever made. That's definitely my opinion of it. And
I mean, I want to play it, but I don't want to play it at 30 FPS. So I
It's
mean,
playable, but definitely, it drops, especially in some DLC boss fights. It can really drop with the
yeah,
amount of detail in this game because it is a beautiful game. And they put a lot of fine detail and finesse into it. But again, the only excuse that I'd want for them not doing that is that there's a remaster on the way. And honestly, if there's a remaster on the way, I'm okay with it. But if there's not, screw them. There's no excuse to not have 60 FPS on PS5 for Bloodborne. It's what, 2014, 2015 game.
yeah.
So, yeah, no excuse at all.
Okay. Well, anything else before we close the show?
Don't think so. Actually, if you guys have YouTube Premium though, and you want to get the best next gen console that's
I
out
gotta
there, they
go.
are giving away Google Stadia. They are giving away Google Stadias for free. I was able to get one, and let me tell you something. It definitely outperforms the Series X and PS5 in every possible way,
Okay.
and you will never have a. I can't even finish that. That's such absolute bullshit. But yeah, no, I'm done. I have nothing else to say.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching episode 4. We will see you in the next one next week. Have a good one.
Come back for next week. Yep. And be sure to keep it to thegamepreview.com for all of our written articles.
Yes.